Hello everyone, welcome back to the session. So in today's class we are going to see about this short answer question in the biology in human welfare chapter. Okay, so this is the 17th day of our series. So without any delay we'll start the first question. Okay, so what is the need for the parasite to develop special adaptations? Mention some special adaptations developed by the parasite. So in this question we can split into two questions. Okay, so first we have to answer for the first half of the question, that is need for the parasite to develop special adaptations, and after that we have to answer about the special adaptations. Okay, so first half of the question will be need for the special adaptations in parasites. Okay, so first you should know what is meant by parasites. So the parasites doesn't have the capacity to live of their own. Okay, so definitely it has to depend on any of the host. Okay, so the parasites must develop special adaptations to survive, reproduce and lead a special life inside the host. And basically we are having two different types of parasites. One is ectoparasite and endoparasite. Ectoparasite in the sense this parasite is live in the outside of the body of the host, that is called as an ectoparasite. Endoparasite in the sense, so these parasites will live within the body of the host, right? So now if to live in the body of the host, definitely the parasites has to adopt some special characteristic features, right? So these parasites must develop special adaptations to survive as well as for reproduction, and to complete its life cycle definitely they need a special adaptations, right? Now what are all the special adaptations developed by the parasites? So the first adaptation will be the attachment structures. Okay, so attachment structures, that is the development of hooks, suckers, rostellum for anchoring inside the host tissues. That is, so whenever the parasites is living inside the body of the host, it has to attach with the host tissues. Okay, for that attachment the parasites are having the hooks, suckers, rostellum. So these hooks, suckers, rostellum were the characters meant for the attachment process. Say for an example, Taenia solium. This is an helminth, that is worm. Okay, so now the second characters will be the protective covering. They have to cover themselves. Why? Because against the gastric juices or any of the enzymes to attack the parasites. Okay, see if there is no proper covering for the parasites, the juices, the digestive enzymes which is present in the body of the host, we can easily eliminate the parasites. Okay, so that is why the parasites may undergo some special adaptations like as protective covering. So this protective covering we are calling them as a cuticle. This cuticle is the one responsible for the parasites to resist the host enzymes. If the cuticle is not present, the digestive enzymes can be easily destroy the parasites, right? The example will be this Ascaris lumbricoides. Now the second, anti-enzyme production. So the third adaptation will be the anti-enzyme production. So our human body or any other host where the parasites can live taking their nourishment, the human body is definitely going to secrete some enzymes. Okay, so that enzymes is going to attack the parasites. So to encounter this particular process, the parasites is undergoing some secretions or productions. Okay, so first thing, the parasites adopt the special covering, and the second thing will be this anti-enzyme protection to counter the gastric or the juice digestive enzyme secreted by the humans. Okay, secretion of this anti-enzymes to neutralizes the host digestive enzymes, example Taenia solium. So this is very important. And the fourth special adaptations will be this anaerobic respiration. Okay, so this adaptation to obligatory anaerobic life due to low oxygen availability. See, inside the body of the host, these worms doesn't have the sufficient oxygen availability. Okay, so that is why they adapt themselves to survive with the anaerobic condition, and it is obligatory in nature. So we are having two different types of anaerobic respiration, one is facultative anaerobes and obligatory anaerobes. Facultative anaerobes means it can these anaerobic parasites or microorganisms can survive with oxygen or without oxygen. But here this is obligatory. There is no point of oxygen is having here. So this obligatory anaerobe, in the sense they definitely need no oxygen. Okay, so the examples of this anaerobic adaptation will be this entamoeba histolytica and Taenia soleum, right? The facultative anaerobiosis, see here the facultative anaerobiosis, in the sense they are having the ability to switch between the aerobic and the anaerobic respiration, which means they have the capacity to survive with oxygen, without oxygen. Okay, so this is the best adaptation. Why? Because this Ascaris lumbricoides can live with the condition where the oxygen availability is there, where the oxygen is not having there, just opposite to the obligatory anaerobes. Now, the simplified anatomy with high reproductive output. See, these parasites will always have the higher reproductive capacity because they have to enhance their population. So, their body structure is very, very simple, but their reproductive capacity is a very maximum. Okay. So, they say, for an example, one female ascaris can lay approximately 2 lakhs eggs per day. Okay, each day they are laying approximately 2 lakhs eggs. Okay, so Taenia soleum have 700 to 900 proglottids, each releasing approximately 35,000 eggs. So this is the scenario. Even that the parasites are very simple in their structure, they are having a high reproductive potential. Okay. Now, so what is their complex life cycle? So this complex life cycle, this involves the multiple developmental stages. Complex life cycle, in the sense, it is not like there is an egg, the leg hatches into a larva develops into an adult. It is not like that. Okay, so the egg will be hatched out into larva. The larva will be further undergoing some metamorphosis process. It will be developed into second instar larva, and the second instar larva will be developed into third instar larva, and the third will be developed into fourth instar larva. So only after then it will be developed into an adult, where we can say that that adult has a sexual maturity. Okay, so this is what, where the life cycle is involving in involvement of many larval stages. We are saying that particular life cycle as a complex life cycle. Okay, so there is a multiple developmental stages. An intermediate host. Say, for an example, in the protozoa we are having two hosts. Okay, so initially there is a plasmodium. Okay, plasmodium vivax. It has to enter into mosquito and it has to enter into the human. It needs two hosts to complete their life cycle. Okay, in each host they are undergoing some metamorphosis process. So this is what we are saying that as a complex life cycle. Say, for an example, fasciola hepatica, sheep liver fluke. Why this fasciola hepatica is undergoing a complex life cycle, in the sense, see, there is an egg, the egg hatch out into one larva, and that larva is called as a miracidium larva. Okay, in the water, and after that it is reaching the host, and in the host they are converting themselves into sporocyst larva, and after that this sporocyst will be developed into redia larva, and it will be developed into cercaria larva and metacercaria larva. In the middle there will be an involvement of another host. So this is a complex life cycle undergone by this fasciola hepatica. Now the cyst formation of cyst to survive unfavorable conditions like desiccation, example entamoeba histolytica. See, always there is a formation of cyst. Not only this parasites, either it will be a bacteria or fungi. During unfavorable condition, they cover their body with extra protective layer. That's what we are calling them as a cyst. Then whenever the favorable condition returns, there is an excistation will be taking place, that is a removal of cyst. Okay, so antigenic variation, so this is another important parasitic adaptation. See, ability to change surface antigen to evade host immune response and vaccine development. See, say for an example, if any parasites enter into the human body, our body will not simply sit and watch what are all the parasites are doing. Okay, immediately our immune system will react to that. Okay, even it is a dust, if it enter into our human body, will tend to sneeze. This is what a primary first line of defense in our immune system. Okay, then think about the parasite. If it enter into the body, immediately our body will recognize with the by seeing that parasite, it will encounter that. But the parasite is undergoing some special adaptations, so that the parasite is if they have the ability to change their surface antigen to escape from our immune system, so that our immune system can't find whether this is a parasite or not. Okay, so this is another important thing. The best example will be the plasmodium and the HIV, human immunodeficiency virus. Okay, so that's all about the first question. And the second question it will be this: distinguish between hypertrophy and hyperplasia with an example. Okay, you should know what is the difference between hyperplasia. What does generally mean the hyperplasia and hypertrophy? So general the definition will be this, that it is increase in number of cells, that is called as a hyperplasia. Okay, hypertrophy in the sense increase in size or volume of individual cells, that is called as an hypertrophy. Okay, so hyperplasia means just a number. Okay, it is just a value, number of cells increases is said to be as hyperplasia. If the each cells is increasing their size as well as the volume, we are saying that as a hypertrophy. Now, what causes this hyperplasia and what causes this hypertrophy? Okay, this hyperplasia is triggered by the parasites. This hypertrophy is also triggered by the parasites. Okay, so both the causes of both hyperplasia and the hypertrophy will be similar. Both are triggered by the parasite, and as it is triggered by the parasite, it's stimulating the cell multiplication. As a result, the number of cells is increases. That condition is called as hyperplasia. So hypertrophy in the sense it is also triggered by a parasite, it is caused by a cell enlargement. So as it is triggered by this parasite, this results in the enlargement of cells. As a result, the volume of each individual cells increases. So this condition is called as hypertrophy. Okay, so the best example for hyperplasia will be this fasciola hepatica in the bile ducts of sheep. The example of this hypertrophy will be this plasmodium infection in human red blood cells, right? So this is what distinguishes between this hypertrophy and hyperplasia. Now the third important question will be, what are all the adverse effects of tobacco? Okay, so first you should know what is tobacco, what is its chemical composition. Only then we can analyze whether this tobacco is giving a good effect or bad effect in the human beings. Okay, or whoever taking the tobacco. See, first you should know that this tobacco, the chemical composition of this tobacco contains many harmful chemicals. Okay, many harmful chemicals including the nicotine as an alkaloid. See, so they are having harmful chemicals. So the fact have been broken down that it is composed of harmful chemicals. So if we intake the tobacco, definitely that harmful chemicals will going to affect our physiological systems. Now that harmful chemicals includes nicotine. Once again, it is a chemical, an alkaloid. Okay, it is an alkaloid drug. Now, so modes of abuse, how this tobacco has been taken by the human body, that results in an adverse effects. So in case of this smoking, example cigarettes. Now, by chewing, that is gudka, used as a snuff, just snoring in with the help, that's inhalation. Okay, so these are all the modes of abuse. Now, what are all the physiological effects? Whenever we are taking this tobacco, in all these modes, what are all the physiological effects? How our body is going to react with that abuse? See, First, increases the carbon monoxide. So you should know that we are having an hemoglobin. It is a respiratory pigment. This is the one is a carrier of the oxygen as well as the carrier of the carbon dioxide. Okay. So from the lungs to the cells, this hemoglobin is taking the oxygens to all parts of the cells, and from the cells to the lungs, the byproduct carbon dioxide will be taken by the hemoglobin, and it results in the exhalation of the carbon dioxide. Besides this oxygen and carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide is very crucial. Carbon monoxide is also showing the greater affinity when compared to oxygen and the carbon dioxide. See, just result to me, when compared to the carbon dioxide and oxygen, carbon monoxide shows higher affinity towards the hemoglobin. Okay, so that results in the increase in carbon monoxide levels in blood. So thus the hemoglobin picks up the carbon monoxide instead of this oxygen. Okay, so as a result our cells are devoid of the oxygen supply. Now the nicotine is stimulating the adrenaline glands. Immediately once the person is intaking the tobacco in any modes, instantly he will get a hit. He will get that hype. Okay, so how he is getting the hype? All because the nicotine is stimulating the adrenaline glands. Okay, as a result, once it is stimulating the adrenaline glands, the adrenaline glands is going to release the adrenaline or noradrenaline hormone. So this is nothing but an emergency hormone which gives a person an instant hit. Okay, so this leads to increase in blood pressure, elevated heart rate. Okay, the person will work more faster. So how he is working more faster? As a result, he is stimulating the brain. Okay, it is a stimulant to stimulate our brain. The brain will work faster, so that the brain needs oxygen. So the heart has to pump faster than usual. Okay, so there is a blood pressure is also increases. The heart rate will also be in an elevated form. So these are all the physiological effects when a person is taking a nicotine. What are all the other health risks associated with this tobacco? Respiratory disease. Okay, if a person is continuously, we can say that if he is addicted to this habit, so this results in the bronchitis, emphysema. All right, cardiovascular issues. It results in the coronary or heart disease. Now, digestive disorders. The digestive disorders is the gastric ulcers. Now, cancers. In cancer in the throat, lungs, urinary bladder, oral cavity, especially with the tobacco chewing. So all these were the associated health risks once a person is addicted to the nicotine. Right? What addiction and gateway effect? Tobacco use can lead to addiction. If a person you continuously use this tobacco, it leads to addiction. Often acts as a gateway to the harder drugs. Okay, so it makes once a person is taking a tobacco, day by day the usage will leads to be higher. Okay, so they say for an example, I don't know how much mg they are taking to get an addiction. Just say for an example, if a person is taking 0.5 gram of tobacco, just say for an example, day 1 it is sufficient, day 2 it is sufficient, for a month it is sufficient. After a month, if he takes 0.5 gram, it is not sufficient for him, so that he will be elevated to 1 gram of tobacco. As a day increases, this 1 gram is also not sufficient for that person to get that hype. Okay, so day by day it leads a person for a gateway to some harder drugs. Okay, which will be more virulent than this tobacco. Okay, what are all the social prevalence? Despite this own risk, okay, even the person is getting the risk, despite that tobacco use remains widespread among both young as well as the old person. Not only the old person as well as the young person. Okay. So fourth question. Why is adolescence considered as a vulnerable phase? Okay, of course it is a vulnerable phase. It is vulnerable. We should not take this word vulnerable in a negative way. Okay, we can take this vulnerable in a positive way. Okay, only if the action is in a positive manner. Right, now how can we define this adolescence? See, this adolescence is a period between the onset of puberty and the beginning of the adulthood. Say between the age range will be approximately 12 to 18 years or 11 to 19 years. We can say both, right? Now the transitional nature. So before the adolescent period, we are all child. After an adolescent period, we are called as an adult. Okay, but this is a transition period from the childhood to the adolescence. It acts as a bridge between this childhood as well as the adulthood. See, initially we were a child. From the child we'll attain puberty. Okay, both men and women, we are reaching an adolescent period. After an adolescent period, we'll transfer this period from this adolescence to the adulthood. So this is a transitional period. Now, it is both a period and a process of maturation. So, initially in the child period, we don't know that much maturity, and in the adolescent period, we are in a learning stage. We are learning both positive as well as negative things. We are vulnerable to both positive and negative, but more predominantly in a negative way, right? So, this is why we are saying this as a vulnerable, right? Now, biological changes, this how we can say the particular person is undergoing an adolescent period. Rapid physical growth, hormonal changes, sexual maturation, everything, every growth, all the growth will be taking place in the adolescent period only. Okay, what are all the behavioral and psychological changes? Okay, it is accompanied by emotional instability. They can't take a proper decisions. Okay, this is not the right age to take a decision, right? Identity formation. Okay, there will be no proper identity for that person. This is the those a person who are in an adolescent stage, they can identify themselves as I am a mother, I am a son of this man, I am a son of this man, this women, like that we are going to identify. Okay, we identify themselves in the name of our mother and the father. Okay, and the peer influence. Adolescent often face confusions. We don't take those persons who are in an adolescent stage, they don't take proper decision. They are they didn't have that much emotional intelligence. Okay, they are having an emotional instability. They are not emotionally stable. They are facing often confusion, stress because of this education or whatever the criteria will be this, and pressure related to the academics, relationships, self-image. So all these were the influencing factors. Why we are saying this as a vulnerability? Okay, due to the intense developmental changes. Okay, so in this period our entire physiological changes are in a transitional period. Okay, so that is one main important thing, intense developmental changes in our brain, in the hormones, everything, right? Adolescence is a critical and sensitive phase of mental psychological development. Okay, because all the development process will be very faster only in this adolescent period. Okay, so that is why for all the human beings, being vulnerable in an adolescent period is normal, right? Susceptibility to risk behavior, substance abuse, and mental health issues is higher. Okay, at this period. Okay, so the next question will be distinguish between this addiction and the dependence. What is addiction and what is dependence? Okay, so here usually the people were confused with the term dependence. I am dependence and addiction. What is the difference? We are going to see about that. Okay, how can we define the addiction? Psychological attachment effects like euphoria. In case of dependence, it is physical tendency to show withdrawal symptoms if the drug use is stopped. See, addiction in the sense getting addicted to tobacco. Okay, and the dependence in the sense if we try to stop that particular addiction, what are all the symptoms we are experiencing after we thought to withdraw the addiction? That is what a dependence. Okay, addiction means we are addicted to one character. Okay, one behavior, we are addicted to one behavior, that may be anything. Okay, dependent in the sense one this is wrong. Okay, we are doing this behavior for a prolonged time and this is wrong, I am going to quit this. Okay, once you decided to stop that addiction, what are all the symptoms you are experiencing? That is dependence, right? What are all the causes? That addiction, the cause of addiction is triggered by the repeated use of tobacco, drugs, alcohol use. That is what TDA, the most important cause of addiction, these three, right? And this dependence is triggered by abrupt discontinuation of the regular drug or alcohol intake. Okay, some people, we can see that in the evening 6 o'clock they remembered their hand shivering, all these things, all this because at the same time they are having a same routine and they are addicted to some behavior. So this is the scenario. Now, mechanism of addiction. Okay, so they increase the tolerance levels of receptors, need higher doses and vicious cycle. As I explained you before, for 1 week, if we take 0.5 mg of tobacco, it is sufficient for that 1 week. If it is for a month, that zero point 0.5 gram, it is not sufficient for them. That person will tend to use more. Okay, and that is a vicious cycle. But here, withdrawal syndrome, once we thought to quit that behavior, it results in anxiety, tremors, nausea, sweating, relieved by resuming that drug use. So all these were an important thing. It's better to not addicted to any behavior. Okay, so even if you are addicted, that is a problem. Even if we thought to quit the problem, again it is a problem. Okay, better not addicted to any of the problem is a good solution for everything. Now what will be the outcome? Okay, so it leads to the regular abuse and psychological craving, need more, that craving. Okay, so this leads to loss of social control and compulsive behavior. They feel isolated from the society. Now, sixth question. As I said before, prevention is better than cure. Justify with regard to the TDA, that is tobacco, drug, and alcohol, right? Okay. How we can prevent this? Because why we have to prevent first of all? As I said before, if you are addicted to something, that is a problem. Even if we thought, if coming back to consciousness, this is wrong, I have to quit, even then the symptoms is getting worse. Okay, so better not involving in any such addiction will be the best solution for every problem. So that is why the proper prevention is better than cure. So first thing will be this: avoid undue parental pressure. Okay, every child has their own choice, capacity and personality. So we don't want to push every children to you have to do this, you have to become a doctor, you have to become a scientist. Okay, we don't want to push each and every children. Okay, they are having their life, they have to live their life, they have their own ambition. Okay, and we have to respect their ambition, and we have to, only thing the parents have to do will be this: just whether they have to say whether this is right or not. That's all about the borders. Okay, so I think this is for the parents, not for the students. Now, parents should not force children to perform beyond their limits by comparing them with others. This is the major problem nowadays all the children are facing. Okay, see, that girl will doing all these things. That girl is joining the karate. Why can't you? That girl is taking the first rank very often. Why can't you study more? Okay, we should not compare one child with the another. The second thing will be this responsibility of parents and teachers. Okay, so they must identify danger signs early. Immediately after, if a person is committed some bad behavior, that person is feeling that as a guilt. They felt self isolating themselves, and teachers and parents have to identify such students, and they have to make a special attention to them. Provide timely counseling to students who may be at risk, who may not be at risk also. Seeking helps from the peers. Okay, so helping from the peer groups. Okay, peers notice someone abusing drugs or alcohol, they should inform their parents or teachers for proper guidance. Okay, and the next one will be this education and counseling. This is very, very, very important. Education among tobacco, drug, alcohol is very important. Addiction and dependence and the symptoms after the addiction is very, very, very bad behavior. Okay, students who are in an adolescent page, if they adolescent phase, if they are using this phase wisely, they will reach the greater heights. Okay, at the same time, if they use in a negative way, and they lost their life in this age itself. Okay, so this is the biggest deal. That is why always people are saying adolescent phase is very vulnerable. Okay, now, seeking professional and medical help, go for a counselors. Okay, if you don't want to say to the parents or the peers, you can go to the counselors. They won't judge the patients. Okay, qualified psychologists, psychiatrists will be there. De-addiction and rehabilitation programs are there. Okay, you can seek help from them. Okay, so that's all about the short answer question, the biology in human welfare chapter. We'll meet you in the another chapter next. Thank you so much.